Super Mikel Arteta got his tactics spot on. Let us give him his flowers. I'm sure that every other fan of Arsenal knows it is high time we began to give Mikel Arteta his flowers. Why wouldn't you give his flowers when he does something incredibly well? It is important we give him his flowers. Mikel Arteta over the weekend against the Magpie at St. James's Park got his tactics and team selection spot on. It is unbelievable because what I said in Arsenal Fans Beat show, I said, look, if he chooses to play with a handbrake, that we're going to be hammered. But if it goes with a team of creative players, that we're going to be notching a victory of 3-1. I'm sure if Nick Pope hadn't been at his best, we would have destroyed the Magpies for more than 3 goals. But somehow, the difference in that game was Nick Pope. He was at his best. But now, there are a lot of talking points on this edition of From My Point of View. There are stuffs that I saw in that match that didn't go well for me, that also went well for me. Overly. Now I'm going to be starting with the tactics formation of Mikel Arteta, having chosen to play a 4-3-2-1 formation, which brought about a lot of creativity. And we saw how balls were moving from left and right. And that even gave Eberechi 3 scoring opportunities. 2 which were nicked away or parried away by Nick Pope, and the 3rd which he missed because he was going for a bicycle kick. Now that is sublime, that is fantastic. It shows also for the first time seeing our team playing with a lot of fluidity, with a lot of cohesion, moving forward. Balls were moving better and we're moving things the way they ought to be. That is the ingredients of title contenders. I also realize, from my point of view, that Arsenal players haven't learned their lesson from the previous seasons where we had issues with officiating. Trossard, true, you were dragged down. True, you were hacked. But you ought to have just kept your cool and keep moving rather trying to haul the referee here and there. Allow the captain to do his job. That was, Bukayo Saka, until he was substituted in that game, played a super captain's role, talking to the referee. Allow him to do the job. Gabriel Magalhaes, what on earth are you doing? You almost allowed the game to get into you. Your emotional reasoning were going on the rise. Why should you have gone to poke Watermaid on the face? The referee was just too good at that point not to have given you a matching order because that is the foul. And it is deemed as an attack against the player, poking your opponent in the face when he's without the ball. That is completely out of order. These are the things that we need to learn going forward if we truly want to nick the English Premier League title this season. I always say that if we need to nick it, we need to play with authority, with audacity on every ground, whether on our home front or away games. Go there and understand that you're going to be playing against 11 players, against the fans, and against the officiating match officials of the game. Because you never can say never in the English Premier League. One decision goes right today, tomorrow it goes wrong against you. So you must learn how to play off the cuff. So going forward, I want to see a lot of our attitude when it has to do with our mental stability, because those are things that bring title contenders very close to their desire. Now, the other thing I also noticed that the PGMOL are never going to get out of this malady of having issues week after week from the officiating. How on earth wasn't that a penalty? How on earth? There are 2 key decisions that I felt were supposed to have gone. One against Newcastle. The other one is against Arsenal. The Arsenal one where Gabriel Magalhaes fell and slid down and the ball hit his arm is a clear penalty. Arsenal had 3 penalty calls in that game. One was Nick Pope versus Gyökeres when Gyökeres had the ball. The PGMOL, they have their own way of interpreting it. The other one was also when Trossard was nudged on the back. He was forcibly nudged. He should have gotten that ball in the box. They pushed him practically, and that changed the trajectory of his position in the game. And the other one has to do with Guimaraes. Guimaraes handled the ball in the box, and his hand was not in a natural position. So these are the things that we're talking about, but nobody gave a look at them. So the point now is, PGMOL, when are you going to get out of this nervy malady of having issues week after week? This is taking the steam out of the sail of this fantastic game. You call the English Premier League the most competitive, the most beautiful globally, but what you guys are doing with officiating is completely out of place. I want to say kudos. We saw a Declan Rice playing the yeoman's job and showing how expensive his brand of rice is when he stopped Murphy from getting the second goal against Arsenal in the 65th minute of that game. That was a phenomenal stop, because if that ball had gone in, it was game over. Anyways, there's another moment also that I saw. That was the moment where Watermaid nudged Gabriel at the back. These are key decisions that affect matches, and yet people, commentators see it as a gentle touch. Gabriel Magalhaes ought to have stood his ground, be bold enough. Anyways, it is what it is. But a touch is the touch. There's nothing that is called a gentle touch. A nudge in the box is a foul. We've seen the same thing happen in the previous seasons or 2 seasons ago, where Joelinton has his 2 hands behind Gabriel Magalhaes and pushed him off the ball to score against Arsenal at St. James's Park. They're good to know that Arsenal took the game to them. Another thing I noticed again, if you didn't notice, I noticed that in the final minutes of the game, Arsenal were relaxed and niggling the passes, notching the passes. Every pass counted. They meant something. Not those times that they are in a hurry, playing, So it shows that this team is beginning to gel. I hope what we saw against the Magpies, there's going to be an improvement on that. There's going to be consistency and improvement. You guys shouldn't go back to the handbrake football. We've got the capacity to undo anything, anytime, anyhow. The way we want it, we must continue to play with audacity, with presence, with authority. And that's how it's been on this edition of From My Point of View. If you agree with me from all the points that I listed out, please don't forget to go to the comment section and help us out by notching and making sure that you make your comments count. And not to forget also, Mark Clattenburg, the former referee of English Premier League that officiated matches for 13 solid years, has also cried foul against Harold Webb and the PGMOL. He clearly said, you guys have failed, that there is no week that the PGMOL are not embattled with controversy. I'll leave you on this edition, and I say don't forget that this is from my point of view. Please help me to grow this community. Together, we can do this. It is always from my point of view.